Welcome. Sandoval Communications presents video streaming of the July 2020 board meeting of Sandoval's HOA. The live stream is simulcast on Sandoval Communications' Facebook page, Sandoval Cape Coral, and on Sandoval's neighbors Synergy. Alternate viewing is also available 24/7 on Sandoval Video Box channel, found on YouTube, and on Sandoval's website, www.livesandoval.com. Consider subscribing to Sandoval Video Box on YouTube by clicking the subscribe button and bell to be notified of future meetings and presentations. The meeting will begin shortly. Thank you for your participation by watching this meeting.
So we'll take the establishment of quorum. Well, first we'll do the, we'll do the roll call. For those on the phone, please say present via call-in. Vice President Ron Spooner.
Present.
Okay, super. Bill Tubb.
Present.
Scott DeFilippis. He had a conflict. He's absent tonight. Director Melanie Palmer. Present. Director Al Roper.
Present.
And Director Don Wells.
Present.
Thank you. And also joining us tonight, we have two management reps from Pope Properties. To my far left is Debbie Hartman, and to my immediate left is Eric Howard, the interim general manager, with us here this evening. So quorum has been established, and Eric, can you confirm proof of notice, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So at this time, I wish to extend a warm welcome to both Tyler Peterson and Nick Burkle for attending tonight's board meeting to brief us all on the upcoming clubhouse project. So, General Manager Howard, are there any resident comments regarding the construction project?
We do have some, and I'm going to defer to Don Wells, Board Liaison to the Clubhouse Expansion Committee.
Okay. If it would be appropriate, I'd like to read the comment, and if one of the two of you would then be able to address the issues.
Sure.
Okay. The first resident comment is from Rick Devine in Hopefield. Will you be requiring all contractors to have an OSHA 30 or at a minimum an OSHA 10 safety training? Please.
So we are currently out to bid. Right now it's a competitive bid to all of the subcontractors. We've invited over 100 subcontractors, 151 invites that are out there. Of those 151, we anticipate probably getting about 80 bids. These will be competitive bids. We'll get 3 competitive bids in each category, so HVAC, mechanical, plumbing, so forth. Those subcontractors, before we sign them up to do the work, we go through a competitive bid process. We look for the low number, but we look for the low qualified number. That subcontractor has to go through our pre-qualification process. Pre-qualification process entails looking at their EMR, which is their safety record. It's done by their insurance company. We also request their safety manual, and then all of our staff, as well as the contractors that are on site, have a safety representative that has their OSHA 10 or 30 certification. Not every employee on the site may or may not be OSHA certified because employees come and go between companies and training and so forth. It takes quite a bit of training to do that. But we will have a safety manager that comes to the site on a regular basis, either twice or monthly, to investigate the safety of this job site as far as OSHA goes. And then, like I said, we will make sure that all of our subcontractors are meeting their safety requirements. We also look at their financials to make sure that they're financially solvent as well. So those are some of the things that we do during the pre-qualification process.
And the OSHA thing's fully covered under all of that.
Well, yes, and not only that, but we require all of our subcontractors to fill out a form saying that they're going to follow all of the OSHA 1926 guidelines for construction. So they'll have to adhere to all the requirements. So, some of the new requirements that have just come out recently are, cutting of concrete and the silica dust. So we're going to require that they, wet cutting the concrete using respirators, making sure that, the concrete dust isn't being airborne, especially in these tight proximities of the residents. So things like that are all part of their contract before, and the vetting process before we sign them up.
Okay. The second part of that question from Rick is, will there be oversight on subcontractors to bids to the construction manager from the HOA, and also oversight on takeoffs to ensure they are in fact correct?
Yes. So we have 2 weeks of bidding, and during that bidding process, the subcontractors, we're going to actually do a site visit out here next week. We're going to bring them out, let them take a look at the site, make sure that they understand all of what we're asking them to comply with. That's the first step. Number 2, we're going to make sure that when the bids come in, we're going to start looking at those bids. We're going to be making sure that the quantities are correct, that everybody is apples to apples, that it's a complete scope. If there's any scope overlap between trades, we'll be backing that out for cost savings. So, for instance, if one trade has something and another trade has something, we're going to ask for a credit for that so that we don't have it stacked in 2 separate bid packages to bring the cost of the project down. So that process happens. It usually takes about a week and a half after we get the bids in, and then after we've got everything vetted out, quantities verified, we'll present the final proposal to the board at the end of August.
Okay. The second question from Kathy Casal on Brightside Court: will the pool be open during construction? I'm going to read my statement, and then I'd like you to expand upon it as you see fit.
Sure.
Every attempt will be made to keep the pool open during construction. Entry into the pool may need to be modified to preserve safety for all concerned.
Yes.
Further comment?
So we've done a full logistics plan on the project. We have looked at where we're going to be bringing materials in, where we're going to be laying down materials, where we're going to be putting parking for the construction employees, as well as we're looking at where the parking will be for the office, which will also remain open during construction. Based on our logistics plan, we think that the pool can be open 100% of the time during construction. We are going to put measures in place to protect from debris as well as just the site of the construction. So we're going to be putting a fence up that runs along the fence here. Tentatively we see access being to the pool from the backside of the clubhouse right now. Because we are going to be doing some work here, we'll have to coordinate, on some of these windows when that happens, but there should be access full into there. There will still be access to the basketball courts. There will still be access to the bocce courts, and as well as a lot of the trails. We will be taking up the area located near the volleyball courts and using that as some parking and laydown area. We will be taking out a small section of curbing and sidewalk as a construction entrance for vehicles to keep mud down and keep dust down coming back into the parking area. And everything will be contained within a fence. So the entire job site will be contained within a fenced-off area. That fence may shift during the different phases of construction. We are going to need access on the back side of the building in order to do the renovation in here. But once this renovation is complete, we will be relocating that fencing so that guests have an egress out of this building, and we still have our construction fencing. That'll be going on when the structure is going on. That's going to be the biggest portion of coordination, and we're going to need the most site during the actual building construction. After the building is up, we can bring that fence closer to the building and allow egress. And once this renovation is complete, we can let access in and egress out on the entrance in the back near where the existing fitness area is.
So from that comment, am I correct in assuming that this building will be renovated prior to the completion of the other building, so it could possibly be returned to function sooner? Or do you have to wait for an occupancy permit?
No, we're in for permit on both of them right now. We anticipate that the new construction is going to take longer than the renovation, so it's going to be going on at the same time. So those durations will be going on at the same time. We anticipate that the renovation will be done prior to the completion of the new building, which will allow access into here, and we'll coordinate all of that as the time comes. There's going to be a lot of coordination that'll need to happen over, prior to construction. We'll have some meetings with management and the HOA to just confirm, the phasing and the planning and all of that. But yes, we anticipate that this renovation will be done before the new addition.
Okay. The next question is from Tom Robertson on Woodburn Place. Will the exercise floor be able to support being used for card groups when it's not in use? And I think my answer to that is a specific gym-type floor, and it would not be utilized for something for card tables and things of that sort. Do you agree with that statement?
Would you answer that question?
Our intent at this time would be to use a specialty floor system in that room that would be designed for exercising. The use of tables and chairs on that floor over a long period of time would definitely do damage to that floor and would not be recommended. It would be our recommendation that that area is strictly used for exercising and that any card tables, chairs would be utilized in a separate area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It said it appears that the new building will have 2.5 divided spaces, and we need more room for space to do multiple things at one time, and that this is a continuation of can that be used for that. But I think there's also going to be a conference room here that would allow support a function of some sort of about 12 people, and then there's actually 3 separate areas in the other building, and then the multi-purpose lounge, as a fourth last place. If it was, you could consider something there, but we're thinking 5 things going on at one time. That's quite a lot. Okay, so the next question is from Denise and Vic Nedgefeld, and they have 7 questions. The first question is, from the clubhouse sketches we've seen, there doesn't appear to be a covered walkway between the 2 buildings, just an entryway pergola. And we have since removed that for future consideration. With Florida's rainy days, it seems impractical to not provide some type of overhead covering for the staff and residents who will be going from one building to the next during inclement weather. Is there going to be some type of overhead covering between the 2 buildings?
We are not planning to provide a connected walkway between the 2 buildings at this time. As we went through the overall program and the actual uses of each building, and the process kind of evolved, we really learned that each of the buildings kind of acts on its own, and we didn't see that there was going to be a lot of interconnected travel between the 2. If you're coming over to use the weight equipment, you're probably not also attending a Zumba class. So at this time, we do not have a connected walkway between the 2. We had explored that option, but given the existing mechanical equipment that is on the side of the building, it became a financial hurdle to relocate all of that equipment, and at this time we've elected to simply have the front doors as the primary access.
Thank you. Will construction be restricted to Monday through Friday, 8 to 6?
Yeah, and one of the things that we want to have a conversation about is what hours of operation. Typically, it's actually going to be more along the lines of we would typically work, a 7 to 4, 7 to 5. Type time frame, but if 8 o'clock is the start time, we would start at 8. So those are some of the coordination items that we just want to go review before we start construction. But yes, it's going to be Monday through Friday. No weekends are planned at this time.
Okay, and then the time was just something that was mentioned by the resident, not necessarily what would meet your schedule and the HA would be approved.
Yeah, a lot of times the 7 o'clock time can be very beneficial because that's when we
Cooler.
would want materials coming in. We
Yeah.
would want them coming in first thing in the morning before the traffic kind of gets heavy after 8 o'clock.
How will construction noise and traffic and dirt be minimized?
So, as I mentioned, we're going to be putting a fence around the entire perimeter. The fence is going to is going to have a top rail on it as well as a windscreen that will prevent dust and dirt from leaving the site. The other thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing in either a broom tractor for the sweeping of the asphalt areas to keep those areas clean. We may bring in some water trucks possibly. One of the things that we are looking at is keeping all of the grass and pavers and everything that's there currently. You going over it at this time, it's all stabilized. It'll keep the dust down, all the current grass and sod and pavers as much as possible. And then, so we think that will help with the dust as well, as opposed to ripping it up and it generating dust, and then we'd have to water it and dust mitigate. So we're planning on doing that. At the end of the construction project, we are going to replace all of the damaged pavers, sidewalk, sod, all of that. That is included in the scope of the work as well.
Okay. Where will all the inside furniture and equipment be stored during the renovation?
I don't know that that's something
Yeah,
that
that's our
we're taking
internal
care
issue.
of. I believe that's something that the association is
Yeah.
handling as far as removing
That's our
the
internal
equipment.
issue, our plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So will that be
Logistics.
handled internally? Okay. Will staff be working from home or a temporary trailer? And I think that's to be determined, and I think they would use every effort to continue to keep the office open and maybe entrance through the side door.
We actually have a plan where they can still access through the front door.
Okay.
We'll put up a temporary wall, and they'll be able to access. Their parking will be right over here, based on the plans that we have now, and these all need to be discussed. But we think that they can park right next to the front of the building, access this area here. There will be some coordination and so forth, but we do think that we can put up some temporary walls and keep those offices and the electrical, everything going during construction. We will know more about that at our site walk next week when we start looking at panels and circuits with some of the electrical subcontractors that are going to be visiting the site.
Okay. And then this next question, will the patio have a barbecue area?
We do not currently have plans to have a barbecue on the patio area. In our experience, the built-in patio systems in a commercial application like this usually end up being more of a long-term maintenance item than they are a benefit. The problem you have is residents come out there, they use it, they don't clean it, they leave it on. Whose job is it to clean it? If a barbecue area is something that the committee decides they would like to look at, I would recommend freestanding grills kind of adjacent to the building. That's going to be much more cost effective. It's going to be easier for the Florida Fire Prevention Code. And just long term, you can go pick up a couple grills from Lowe's for a couple $100, whereas the built-in is $5,000-$10,000, and then you're replacing it every couple of years. So it would be our recommendation to just have freestanding grills elsewhere.
Now, is the grand opening date still going to be in February of 2021?
No, it won't be. We anticipate starting construction around the 1st of October. We're going to present numbers at the end of August. We're in for permitting right now. That permitting process usually takes about 30 to 40 days, something along those lines. And so we anticipate, once the cost is approved, we start getting our subcontractor signed up and starting around October. That being said, that would only give us about 4 months to build the entire project, which we anticipate it's going to take longer than that. Based on just initial running an initial schedule on it, we're looking at probably around July 2021 as the move-in date. We'll know more as we talk about coordination. A lot of it's going to have to do with how things are staged, how things flow, how we can move in and out. But right now, we'll say around that July 2021 tentatively.
Okay, thank you. That's good news, Bill. Okay, now the last question. A concerned resident sent a mass email recently to the community residents stating that the association is being ripped off, namely overcharged on the square foot basis for the expansion project. The basis was one that they could build a home for X amount of square footage. Please explain the difference in costs related to the residential versus custom commercial construction as is in our new construction, and are we being overcharged?
So residential construction is quite a bit different than commercial construction and how it's delivered. So, for instance, in a neighborhood like Sandoval, you would have probably a larger builder, and they would buy all of the materials themselves. So they would buy all these materials in large quantities. They would also negotiate very hard with labor subcontractors for the install prices. So and then they would have all of these built into, say 30, 40 homes at a time. So you would basically be, 30 or 40 home pricing instead of an individual unit pricing. The other thing is that when you're doing residential construction, usually one superintendent will cover about 15 houses. We're going to have a full-time superintendent on this project to ensure the safety of the residents, to ensure the cleanliness, to ensure deliveries coming in and out of the site. And there's going to be a considerable amount of site logistics as well as making sure that we're coordinating with the staff on a daily basis, pre-planning, so forth and so on. The other thing that's different between commercial and residential construction is you're going to have large gatherings in this building. So you're going to have, what's the capacity for the gathering areas? Do you know?
188.
Couple
yeah.
hundred people. So the HVAC system for your house is designed for a family, whereas the HVAC system for a commercial venue like this is going to be much bigger, much more expensive, quite honestly. But it's going to also have some other components that your home split system doesn't have. It's going to have a dedicated outside air unit that's going to be bringing fresh air in, conditioning, recirculating it, so forth. The electrical systems are also going to be quite a bit different. Instead of using Romex cable, we're going to be using MC cable. The duct systems are going to be different. Instead of using just your typical flex duct system, we're going to be using either ductboard or sheet metal ductwork. The services are bigger for the electrical. The glass and glazing on the outside. So, for instance, on all of your entry doors, you've got storefront doors. Those storefront doors are going to run about 7 times more than a typical entry door on a house. The reason is they're going to be aluminum. They're going to have glass that's hurricane impact rated to the latest codes. They're going to have door hardware on them that's going to be more expensive than with panic hardware and for egress and code reasons. You're going to have access control as well that for card swipe and things of those nature. So there's a lot of things. We've also got some decorative items on the outside. So those are some of the things. Bathrooms, you've got partitions and bathroom accessories, things like that you wouldn't have in a. And then one of the bigger costs is the folding partitions. So we've got about $100,000 in folding partitions that will separate the spaces so that you can open up the spaces and so forth. We're using commercial grade flooring, commercial grade ceilings. There's AV systems that are going to be included in this. So there's a lot that goes into a commercial project that you wouldn't see on a residential project. So hopefully that kind of gives the difference between what you're looking at. There also is about $250,000 worth of site work on this project, from the utility work that has to be done to the surveying to the rebuilding and restoration of items to the new pavers. So there's, and we've got pricing on that during the budgeting process, so everything's in line. We anticipate those being about pretty accurate when we get the bids in. So there's all of these components are a little bit different than you would see on a residential build.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that, Tyler?
No, I think Nick did a pretty good job.
Okay. All right, but that concludes all the questions, and I'll turn the floor back over to the president, and then you can start with your presentation.
Okay. No, thank you. I appreciate that. So we can go right to the presentations.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
My name is Tyler Peterson. I'm with PDS Architecture. We'll see if we're going to pull a floor plan up here. Okay. So this is going to be the floor plan of the existing building with the proposed renovations. You can see we're utilizing the front fitness room, which is currently the equipment room. That will be the new fitness room, and then we've relocated all of the equipment to this back area where we're actually currently sitting. We do have a dedicated boardroom there, and then we will be doing new finishes throughout the existing restroom area. On this plan, you can actually see where those condensing units are over on the left side of the screen there, those little squares with a circle in them. Those are the existing, those are the existing air conditioning equipment that prohibit us from doing a direct connection between the existing building and the new building. If we were to work out a connection there, we would actually have to take it out of that fitness room in the front of the building, decreasing that size. And I knew there was a major concern from the community about making sure that that room was large enough to handle all of the classes that you guys have on a pretty regular basis. Every time I've been here, there's been classes going on, people in and out, and this is the first time it's actually been quiet here. So, if you want to go to the next slide there. Okay, so this is going to be a floor plan of the new building. You can see there the dashed lines are the folding partitions that Nick was previously talking about. This layout here is kind of set up for 6-foot diameter tables just to kind of give an overall layout of what you could possibly have in there. And then obviously by closing those partitions, it does create kind of 3 dedicated areas where you can have individual classes or poker or whatever going on in those rooms. They work out as a really good flex space. In the top corner, we do have a small lounge room, which would be set up with shelves for books, for a little library, or watching a movie. I think we're going to have a small foosball table in there or something. So it does work out as a kind of a nice flex space. On the left side, we do have a small kitchenette area, which does allow access via a window out onto the patio. One of the big feedback items we had received from everybody was that there was no kind of outdoor covered living area here. This building in particular, as soon as you walk out the back doors, you're just in 110-degree weather. So we tried hard to kind of work in a nice outdoor area so people can sit out there and kind of enjoy the view and just enjoy those few nice Florida days that we have. If you want to go to the next slide. Okay, so this would be a computer-generated rendering of the proposed building. So you can see we tried very hard to mimic the existing architectural features that you had in this building. And again, our goal was to create an overall cohesive campus feel so that as somebody pulls up, they don't look and say, oh, that's a new building and there's the old building. You just look at it and you feel like it's one development and everything kind of blended. That was our main goal. I'm always a fan of keeping everything kind of consistent, and at the end product, you never want somebody to pull up and say, oh, well, there's an addition, or there's the new phase. So that was a big focus of ours. If you go to the next slide, that should be a rendering of the back of the building. Okay, so this is a rendering of the back of the building. Again, maintaining that same architectural features with the gingerbread trim around the gable end, kind of the yellow and white bands, arches, the louver shutter there. This area here shows that outdoor living area, so you can see, people kind of sitting out there overlooking the pool and just kind of enjoying that Florida lifestyle. That would be the extent for my exhibits. If anybody has any questions about our design process, the overall product, or kind of our approach, I'd be happy to answer them.
Bill, we're getting rid of the gingerbread. We're getting rid of the gingerbread. I was thinking, weren't we getting rid of the gingerbread and having that a solid piece of wood?
We had discussed actually removing that gingerbread. These renderings were prepared initially, so I believe the current permit submitted plans, we do have plans that have a straight band on there, and then the renovation for this building would also have just a straight band, a little bit more contemporary than the gingerbread.
That was my
on there.
question.
Okay.
Would
Any
you,
other
who
questions?
addresses permits, Nick or Tyler?
Nick.
Nick, okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nick, do you have a presentation as well, or?
No, I just came
Okay.
to piggyback on him and answer questions.
All right. Can you maybe tell us about the permit process and where we are in the permit process? And if you can guess at a timeline, that would be helpful too, please.
Yeah, so permitting, we're in for permit on both. It's two separate permits, one on the renovation and one on the new. They went in about a week and a half ago. Typical turnaround time is about 30 days on the permitting process. If we have some comments, then we may have to resubmit, depending on what the comments are. So that resubmittal process usually takes, 2 days? 2 weeks? 2 weeks, okay. It's like, man,
2 days, wow, we're efficient.
2 weeks for the comments to get turned back around, and then we would resubmit, and then it'd probably be another 15 to 30 days. Usually the second go-around goes a little bit quicker than the first go-around. So we could be looking at another, 30 to 45 days of permitting if we have comments. If we don't have anything and they approve the permit, we could be looking at probably mid to late August if everything gets approved on the first go-round. So.
Okay, very good. Anybody from the board have questions or clarification they need?
No, thank you very much.
All right, and how about our friends from Pope?
No,
We're
no
good.
questions here.
So thank you on behalf of the board and the residents. Thank you for coming out tonight and joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so next on the agenda are the resident comments on the agenda topics.
We do have, I believe, 2 questions. Debbie's going to read them for us, and
Okay.
we'll see who gets to answer them.
Okay, I have 2 questions from residents, both regarding agenda number 11, Art Committee sign and flag changes for design review guidelines. The first one being from Ed and Betty Fishburne on Stonehill Court. Question is, in the use restrictions, number 5, page 7, is very clear that all signs are to be approved by the ARC. Also, I believe it should state that there should be no political signage. The use restrictions number 15, page 5, states which flags can be displayed and when they can be displayed in Sandoval. It does not say no other flags are allowed. I do not believe any political flags or signage will create many issues in our community, and it will be detrimental to all residents.
And there should be
Do you
another
want to read
one.
the second one?
Yep.
Oh, you have that one.
The second one, same agenda item. The posted board agenda lists the topics to be discussed, but there is no information given to us as to what the board intends to vote on. Thus, homeowners not having specific information have their ability to air their opinions. Specifically to the Art Committee is suggesting changes to sign and flag rules. Are they aiming to relax them or make them more stringent? Isn't there an obligation to post notice of proposed CC&R changes to the community ahead of time for a board vote? Also, there is an agenda item, capital improvements. Is there a plan to do anything new?
Okay.
And that was submitted by Chris Betchel on Brightside Court.
All right, thank you. We will address those questions when we get to that item on the agenda during that time frame.
Very good.
Okay. So thank you for that. And next on the agenda, we have the approval of the past meeting minutes. Does the board have any edits or corrections to the past meeting minutes? No. All right, so if there's no changes, is there a motion to approve the minutes? So moved. And is there a second? Second. All right, Al seconded. Bill? Who was first? Bill
Bill.
made the motion, and Al Roper seconded the motion. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye. Aye. On the phone? Can you call around there? Ron, are you there?
Still there.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are no corrections. The minutes are approved as distributed, so it was 6 on the votes.
I nailed it.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Good minutes.
All right. I'm going to take a few minutes now to do the president's report. Oh, that's bright.
Well,
Holy cow. Can't see. All right. Good.
See you better.
Oh, man. Good evening to everybody. Thank you to both Tyler Peterson and Nick Burkle for attending tonight's board meeting and for the very informative briefing regarding the clubhouse project, impact on our amenities and operations, as well as the timeline they shared with us. Plans being developed due to what may be a major disruption for residents, use of the amenities and our office operations during the construction. The plan will deal with and mitigate as much as possible the effects of the ongoing work. The GM will need to communicate and provide information, including once the project has commenced, current progress levels, and any change with use of parking, amenities, or office operations. We'll work with the Communications Committee to email blast these updates to residents before and during the construction. I'm sure that no one needs to be reminded how serious the COVID-19 pandemic has become in Florida, but here we are, now over 4 months of social distancing and adapting to COVID restrictions. At this time, it's important for us all to be vigilant and considerate, not only for ourselves, but for our friends and our neighbors. This board has taken steps to safeguard community residents and employees while navigating guidelines and protocols in support of a safe environment. Together, we'll get through this. The more we adhere to the CDC rules and common sense applications, the sooner we'll see light at the end of this awful tunnel. As you know, the clubhouse remains closed to social gatherings and events. Both masks and appointments are mandatory to conduct official business at the office. The pool remains open with 50% capacity limitations, social distancing, and hours of operation restrictions. Thank you for your cooperation in helping to keep our employees safe, as well as maintaining our safe business operations. I'm happy to report that the new employees are here tonight, and they're also doing very well in their respective positions and have clearly demonstrated their willingness to support one another and work together. Debbie Hartman from Pope Properties is here with us tonight to make some staffing announcements. I can attest to the fact that the board and Ms. Hartman have had very frank discussions lately regarding our staffing needs and efforts to fill vacated positions. In recent weeks and months, there have been many reported incidents of unacceptable and inappropriate behavior displayed by residents in dealing with employees as well as with other residents. There is no excuse for this type of behavior, whether in the office, on our roads or walking paths, as at the gates or the pool or any other amenities location. This matter remains a concern for this board. As a general reminder, I've asked the Communications Committee to share the June 2019 resolution establishing appropriate conduct policy tomorrow morning via an email blast to all residents, as well as posting to the Sandoval Cape Coral Facebook page. In 2019, the previous board saw the need to address such improper conduct and subject residents who fail to comply with this conduct policy with appropriate enforcement action. This includes the imposition of fines, suspension of common facility use rights, and possible legal action. The goal is to foster a climate of open discussion, mutual respect, and tolerance between residents, guests, board and committee members, as well as interactions with our Pope employees working here at Sandoval. Let's all strive to be good neighbors and citizens of our Sandoval community by treating neighbors, residents, and all of the employees with respect and decency. I know the general manager plans to address down-to-earth landscaping. However, I'm pleased with the recent 30-day progress report provided by A.J. Price on Monday of this week. As a follow-up to the last board meeting presentation by Down to Earth, the board extended an invitation to them to conduct a virtual town hall in late August to further address their 60-day improvement plan. One must note, however, the impact of rain delays and slippage in the scheduled calendar of activities. There's more to come on that front and follow-up from the GM following the Treasurer's report. The Lifestyle Director and newly established Social Committee met virtually yesterday for the first time to brainstorm on both virtual and outdoor activities for future consideration and scheduling. Resident Lisa Major Roundtree will serve as the chair of the Social Committee. You may have seen the August calendar that was shared today via email blast. Event flyers will be shared in the morning. This is another positive step taken by our lifestyle director. Bose Electric are here. They were here today to replace all 4 gates and operators at the Veterans Gate entrance with an expected completion date of August 5th. Drivers are asked to be mindful when entering and exiting to ensure the safety of the workers and to follow any redirected traffic flow. I know residents have been eager to get back to their routines after many months of social distancing, working from home, and now preparing for back to school, whatever that may look like. That said, residents are reminded we're in hurricane season. Please prepare and have food, medications, and materials you may need readily available. Please make sure your emergency information is up to date. Coupled with COVID restrictions, it's really important to have a plan in place. A few days ago, I asked the Communications Committee to share an email with a preparedness document I thought was helpful, relevant, and found on the ready.gov website. Be prepared. Stay safe. Be well. Thank you. It's so funny talking to an empty room. All right. Next week, I'll call for the board treasurer's report.
Vic, will you tell me if you can hear me or not? Okay. The June 30, 2020 financial highlights. The June 30, 2020 financials have been posted to our homeowners website for you to review. We've received these financials on July 21, and they've been distributed to the board and to the Finance Committee. Additionally, we discovered that the previous general manager had not posted the December 31, 2019 audit report to the website, but this document has now been posted for your review as well. The Finance Committee has begun discussions on the CIT proposal on the HOA invested funds. Mutual of Omaha Bank has transitioned into CIT and is offering different options than we utilized in the past through MOB. Mr. Dave Saganik is arranging for another local banker to attend our August meeting to present other options. A review of the HOA accounts receivable delinquency accounts revealed the following. At January 31st, 2020, the total of delinquent HOA assessments was $140,255, of which $89,643 were over 90 days past due. At February 29, 2020, the total of delinquent HOA assessments was $115,916, of which $85,640 were over 90 days past due. At March 31, the total delinquent HOA assessments was $105,585, of which $98,599 were over 90 days past due. At April 30th, the total of delinquent HOA assessments was $145,481, of which $85,850 were 90 days past due. At 5/31, the total of delinquent HOA assessments was $89,535, of which $55,858 were over 90 days past due. At June 30, the current financials, the total of delinquent HOA assessments was $78,596, of which $76,320 were over 90 days past due. Of the 76,320 days over 90 days past due on June 30, a total of $56,476 were owed by 9 homeowners. That's 74% of the total outstanding amount by 9 homeowners. Today I requested an update from Jason Warren of Pope Properties Accounting Department of the July 30 delinquent amount. As of this morning, the delinquent balance is around $27,000. So obviously some of our egregious non-payers have either paid their balances or sold their homes. Jason could not give me the over 90-day totals. We'll have to wait for the July 31 financial statements to see that information. But obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic is not impacting Sandoval's cash flow. I believe the board should instruct our interim as well as our new general manager to contact our attorneys and identify more aggressive actions to be taken against the dozen or so most egregious non-payers. Finally, the June 30 balances in the reserve fund and the telecommunications surplus fund can be found in the financial statements presented on our website. Thank you, ma'am.
Very good. Thank you. Next, we have the general manager's report, and in this case, it'll be a 2-part. Eric Howard will start, and then Debbie Hartman will address some of the staffing matters for us. Thank you.
So I've got a little bit more to add. Kathy covered most of the down-to-earth update, but we are about 30 days into that 60-day plan that they announced at the June board meeting. They're currently on schedule. They're going to provide the August service schedule next week, and we'll get that posted on the website. Billy Ditzel's our account manager, and he's going to be available to homeowners every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Eclipso Park over by the Tiki Huts. So they'll be able to come in and ask questions, and he can address any landscape issues that they might have. We just need to ask everyone just to remember to social distance when they're out there.
When does it start?
It's going to start next Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11, Calypso Park. And Billy Ditzel's the manager.
We'll get an email reminder out to everybody.
We
in the
will
morning.
send out an e-blast to let everybody know. The virtual town hall meeting is going to be sometime the last 2 weeks of August, where we'll get the update from Down to Earth. The date's not been announced. The vice president of the company's out on vacation this year, so we couldn't get it scheduled yet. But once we get that, we'll e-blast the time and date, and homeowners in the maintenance-free areas will be able to participate in that. And that's all I have on that.
Okay, great. So
we got Debbie.
welcome.
Thank you. I wanted to provide with you tonight our staffing updates. So as most of you know, Sharon Matthews, our compliance collections manager, was terminated. We have not filled that position until now, and we have been able to promote from within. We are happy to announce that Kelsey Meredith is going to take over that position. She's been promoted to the compliance collection manager. She does come with a CAM license previously before she came here. And she's been doing a fantastic job for us, and we realize that her efforts certainly and do allow for her to do this position. We feel like she's going to do a great job. She does have the experience, so congratulations to Kelsey. With that being said, we're going to have to fill her current position, which is the administrative assistant reception. We do have an ad placed. We are reviewing resumes at this time, and I do have interviews set up for Monday or Tuesday. Kelsey and Evelyn, our administrator, will be instrumental in getting that position trained and onboarded. Once we feel like she's in place, or he, Kelsey will go ahead and start taking over her position as the compliance collections. And the last update, our GM position. Last Wednesday was our former GM, Jerry Evans' last day. We're happy to announce that an offer has been extended and accepted. We have a new GM that will be starting this Monday, August 3rd. Her name is Casey Pinella, and Eric and I will be working closely with her along with the other staff members to get her onboarded and trained. She will be here the first day on Monday, and then she will be spending some time at our Pope corporate office in Sarasota as well with our corporate team there. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. That's good news on all fronts. So thank you for that. Next on the agenda, we have the ad hoc committee reports. And the first one we have listed is the clubhouse expansion. I don't know, Don or Bill, if you'd like to say anything further.
The only thing I would just make sure everyone realized, and I think we've said this already, the site development has been approved. The permit funds have been provided, and it's a matter of this picking the permit up by our construction committee.
Might also add that from day one, we've explained to Mark Stevens what our budget was. $1.9 million for new construction and about $400,000 for renovations. The renovations is out of reserves to renovate this building. He knows that budget. He is building the whole project around that budget, and we expect to come in on time, on budget, and no more questions about that.
Perfect. Good news. Thank you. Next, we have the Taylor Morrison litigation. And I'm going to ask Ron Spooner to address if there's any update there.
There's no updates there.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next, we have the capital improvement projects. Mr. Roper?
Capital Improvement Committee has not been tasked with any new projects recently. In the last 6 months, we have basically completed 3 projects. The one was the Vermont Wall, which has been completed with the exception of some minor amount of landscaping. There are some dead plants there that didn't survive the transplanting that need to be replanted. But other than that, I did check as of this morning. Out of our 3 projects, that is the only one that has been signed off by the city. The other 2 projects, the tennis court parking lot and the Happy Paws dog park parking lot, those permits are still open at this time. However, as far as I know, there is no more work to be done on either of those projects. We just need the city of Cape Coral to come out and sign off on them.
So is that something that we have to take action to follow up and remind them?
And the permits expire August 24th for both of those projects. So I would imagine the city will come out and sign off.
Do we need to call and schedule that?
Contact Avalon Engineering.
We can do that.
Okay. All right. You'll get with the general manager to close those out, or? Okay. Thank you very much. All right. And then next is the management request for proposal, and I'm going to ask Melanie to address that one.
Yep, so the committee continues to meet every week. We released our request for proposal on July 10th, and the committee has been reviewing any questions and responding to answers as we're meeting. Final proposals are due back mid-August.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Just to clarify, any questions that come in from any Prosper are being given to all Prospers,
yes,
and the answers too, so everybody's on equal standing.
Right, yeah, so they had a week to be able to submit questions. They had a week time frame to be able to submit any questions. We collected all the questions, responded to all of them, and then sent back questions and answers to all the potentials.
Yeah, that was done on the 29th. The response went on the 29th of July. So, okay, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is old business, and this is the street paving. This is at the last board meeting, Ron Spooner raised the issue of the need for street paving and to prioritize the asphalt repairs on a number of streets, and I think it was up to 5 roundabouts that needed some work. Ron was able to secure 1 bid, and then we were looking for additional bids, and I think Eric can give us an update.
Right, so we, Jerry and I met with a couple of them. We've got 3 additional bids coming. We haven't received them as today, so we've got a total of 4 coming, including the one that Ron got the first time.
Okay.
So we did take the one that...
Do we have a timeline for those? Because I cannot emphasize enough how important this project is.
Jerry did ask them to have them before today. None got it back to us yet. So I'll follow up tomorrow with them and see if I can round those up. So we did take the numbers, the square footages and everything from the first bid, and the other 3 contractors are using those same numbers, so we're all bidding on at least the same amount of work.
Thank you.
All right, so on this one, then we'll follow up in the morning on the bids.
Yes.
And then hopefully then the board can review the bids and make a decision, right, to move forward. Ron?
Yeah, hopefully.
Can we have a commitment to have a special board meeting to do that once those bids come in? I wouldn't want to wait 30 days to
Sure.
review the bids if they were in, like, in 2 days.
I don't want another month. I want this to be expedited. We've got bids the first first initial bid 2 months ago. So it's fine.
Right. Yeah, so we can commit to
Just call it a special board meeting
a special board meeting for the bids.
for that purpose.
So if we can request them by, no later than maybe the end of next week.
Okay.
Type thing. Okay, very good. Next on the agenda, under new business, is the ARC Committee sign and flag changes for design review guidelines. And this was something that the former general manager saw the need to do, in that residents had issue and concerns with a number of flags that were flying, flags that were, whether they were political, whether they were sports teams. Secondly, there was signage. We did allow for the school spirit, the graduates. We made a special allowance for the month, maybe a month and a half. The various schools put the signs out congratulating the graduates. We did the graduates parade and whatnot. But specifically, the CCR addresses the design guidelines in Article 4 of the CCR. And within the CCR, it does authorize the board to make amendments to the design guidelines. And that was the task that the ARC was charged with, to address this matter. So Don is the liaison to the ARC. So I'm going to ask you, is it okay?
I don't know anything about the flags.
Okay, but Molly's submission.
Okay, but the submission that the board went over at a board meeting was regarding the paint colors, the fences, the type of fence that would be allowed, and the flower pots, and all those things were discussed in detail at a board meeting, and then a vote was then made, and so that was done in a public forum. And if you look at
under the design guidelines.
Under the design guidelines. So let me just go to our documents. And Article 4.1 states that no approval is required to repaint the exterior structure of your house according to the original color scheme. Other things, any other changes to the exterior of the house needs to have design review approval. You can change things on the interior, but if it's on the outside, it needs a design review approval. I will also state in 4.3 that upon termination or delegation, the board shall have the authority to create and amend the design guidelines. Any amendments to the design guidelines shall be prospective only and shall not apply to modifications or removal of structures previously approved. So if you have been approved under one set of design review guidelines and then the guidelines are changed, that does not mean you have to then upgrade your item or whatever it would be to the new criteria. But from that point going forward, you would have to meet the requirements of the new approved design review guidelines. So this is what the issue was regarding the paint, regarding the flower pots, regarding the fences. So that did not require a 2/3 vote of the community because we're not changing the documents. We're only updating the design review guidelines, and that's the big distinction here.
Right, and this was the concern that was raised by the residents on the specific agenda topic. So the discussion that we're going to have is, again, the general manager asked the ARC to review and combine all sections of review and combine sections of the signage through the design review guidelines. In addition, it was requested that the language and the verbiage be made clear for all community members to understand. No additional rules or regulations have been added to the signage regulation. However, to combine and clean up the current verbiage, a board vote is required before the communication committee can reproduce the product. So the document that was shared in the board package specifically provides the language that they would like to see in the design review guidelines. And in this case, the section 14 addresses flags and flagpoles. And here, the flags that can be displayed are the U.S. flag and the armed forces flags. specifically the U.S. Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and they're suggesting the addition of 2 words, Space Force, the new agency. No other flags are allowed, according to the design review guidelines. And then regarding signage, the only signage that's authorized under the design review guidelines are realty signage that must be in accordance with the Sandoval signage guidelines, and security company signs may be permitted in the front yard, located either adjacent to the driveway or in close proximity to the front entrance of the main dwelling. And that language already exists. So the language that they're suggesting be added to the design review guidelines specifies further, no other sign, display, poster, or any advertising device of any kind may be displayed in public view of the portion of a home or property of a home or on or in a vehicle. So again, the only signage that's allowed is realty signs and security signs. Now we're going into the political season, and I'm sure many of you have seen some of the political signage that's out there. Oftentimes, I know when pools are installed, the pool or the roof company that's working on a house will put their sign up, but technically they're not allowed. All right? So the realty signs, the language is, well, I'm going to ask the general manager to read it. Do you mind reading it?
No, sure. So realty signs may be permitted for the purpose of offering for sale or lease the exact property upon which the sign is placed. The sign, quantity, 1 per lot, and location of these signs are regulated by this guideline and by the City of Cape Coral land use and development regulations. The realty sign may allow for additional tag sign to indicate open house times, phone numbers, or representing agent. Both signs are limited to 3'6" in height and 3 feet in width. The main sign panel is limited to 5.5 square feet on the sign panel. These signs shall be mounted on a 4-foot wood post with 3/4 inch Omega board or similar approved exterior grade board panel. All sides finished. And it goes on to do approved temporary signage colors are, and it lists the color of the sign face, the board of the sign face, the text, the signpost, the font, and the hardware.
So, again, the intention was to clean up and provide clarification to the design review guidelines. So the question before the board now is, do you have concerns with the suggested language, and are we looking to make a motion to approve the language? The board can amend the design review guidelines by vote.
One correction, you said a 4-foot wood post. It's a 4-inch.
4-inch wood post.
4-inch wood post.
All right. So is there...
What is the signs in a vehicle?
That would be a yard sign.
That would be outside, wouldn't it?
A yard sign put inside like a sunshade or on the back window saying, vote for Joe.
Right. There's like a... Okay. There have been sightings and some concerns raised about residents that have a sandwich board in the back of vehicles promoting or supporting political campaigns.
For the purpose of discussion, I will make that motion to accept those proposed changes into our design review.
All right, so Bill makes the motion. Is there a second? All right. Don seconds.
Okay.
All right. Is there discussion?
Since I made the motion, I get first.
Yes.
I would, to the other sign, display, poster, or other advertising device of any kind be displayed in public view of any portion of a home or property of a home or on or in a vehicle, add bumper stickers are specifically excluded from this.
How about placards on the side of the vehicle?
Such as like real estate, name and number, and...
Such as Joe's garbage removal?
Well, I thought that when I first moved into the community that you could not have a commercial vehicle with writing on the vehicle.
That's a Cape Coral ordinance.
So I just think that, you know, if that is still the case, that it should be specifically put in that
Should we add
language.
I wouldn't object to that. I have neighbors that put a magnetic white blank panel on to covering the commercial lettering on their vehicle. So that's consistent with what we're currently doing.
Mm-hmm. And then I have another question. The flags that you mentioned, is that excluding the first responder and police flags?
According to this, the existing language discusses on armed. It discusses specifically what armed forces agencies, as well as specifically the national holidays where they can fly.
The blue line flag is the modified American flag?
Yes.
Got the blue stripe across
And some
the middle.
have red and half blue.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's first responder flag.
I mean, I have no objections to those.
Does that fall under American flag? A modification of the American flag?
It's what it is, yeah. And I also have a question about,
Defamation of that flag, and maybe the police should be called about it.
unless I
They
missed
came
it,
up with it.
did we mention a POW flag?
There's no mention of the
mention of
POW
that.
Okay.
flag.
That should be.
In fact, seems to say an American flag anytime, but the armed forces flags only on specific days, not
Right.
365 days.
That's correct. So we can table this, send it back for further review by our committee to discuss the modifications to the flag, like the law enforcement flags, the blue flags you're saying, the POW flag, right?
Well, do we need to do that?
I mean, why don't we do it here? I think we should modify it ourselves.
Okay.
I mean, I think they've done a
We'll make-
yeoman's task to this point, and if there's modifications, we do
Okay.
it here and
We
be done
can
with it.
make the motion.
Well, then I'm modifying my motion to add the comment under number 34 signs that bumper stickers are specifically excluded from this. Bumper stickers, not adhesive signs of any kind. It's strictly bumper stickers.
Right.
And then for flags, you want to?
What are your feelings about the flags, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I
These
don't.
flags.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I think that's American flag. I think we have a lot of supporters and first responders.
I'm in favor of supporting both of those.
I think so.
Right. And should we,
And the MIA flag?
the POW MIA flag, we should
And I don't have a problem with that either.
include.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do those only need to be limited to certain days? Do we have a problem with those
Not
being
really.
out all the time?
Not really.
One other thing, did we mention state of Florida flags?
We did not, and it's not included in the verbiage. So
I've
we'd
never
have to,
seen
we could
one.
add it.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, it's not in the existing language. On the flags, the only change the ARC made was the inclusion of Space Force.
Yeah, I've never seen the branch of flags anywhere, really.
I've seen some.
I've seen
flags.
Marines. I've seen a lot
Yeah,
of
well, the
Marines.
Marines are, they would do that.
All right, so the motion then is what? To add the POW MIA?
To add the police, the first responder, the POW flag to the existing list.
Well, I wouldn't say just the police first responder. I would say the black and gray American flag.
Police,
with
there's
the
one
band
that's a
for-
combination.
Yeah, but not just any new flag they might come up with in the future and say,
Well, you can
that's
say,
the first
okay, then you can
responder.
say the existing,
Yeah, say that specific
first.
flag is allowed.
yeah.
All right, I don't know if you got that.
So we're going to do the police blue line flag, American flag version, the first responder American flag version.
Right.
And then
And the
there's a
POW,
combination
and
in
the POW, and the POW.
Yes.
Okay. And under signs, we're going to include that on vehicles, the bumper stickers are excluded.
That should not be there.
Okay, so is that on the list?
That is
No
not on the
others-
list, but that's under Cape Coral
Right.
city ordinances. So do we need to restate a city ordinance?
I think you need to, otherwise they won't know it.
But it says, again, under signage, all realty signage must be in accordance with the guidelines, including the type, size, materials, and location. One security company sign may be permitted in the front yard,
No, we're talking about yard signs.
adjacent to the
versus-
driveway, or close proximity to the door. No other sign.
This is what covers it.
No other sign, display, poster, or other advertising device of any kind may be displayed in public view of any portion of the home, the property
Okay.
of the home, or in or on a vehicle.
Perfect.
So that addresses it.
So that addresses
The
it.
only signage that's allowed is realty and security. And again, we made an exception for the school spirit at time of graduation.
You can
And
do that.
of course, the holiday, we allow for decoration and signage that's provided for separate.
And bumper stickers.
And then we're going to add that bumper stickers are excluded.
Ron
Excluded
has a
from this
comment, I
invitation.
All
believe.
right, Ron?
I have one question. What modifications of the American flag are specifically being allowed?
Go ahead.
The police, the first responder, and the combination.
The modifications to the American
Well-
flag.
I would just caution that there are a lot of political views to the different types of American flags. There's one that's white and black, and another one that's blue and white. And I would be very cautious allowing one and not the other, and very specific to what modifications. But there isn't any wiggle room. That's my comment.
Okay.
Well, we did talk about black and gray with the red, the blue, or the red half blue stripe, and that would be the only ones.
Maybe we can work with the ARC to also get pictures to show which ones were authorized
Okay.
with these modifications. The law enforcement with the blue stripe through it, right? And that would help clarify.
Well, as the maker of the motion, I accept those modifications to my motion. Does the person seconding accept those modifications?
I do.
Okay.
Done, yes?
I did, yes.
Did I have my head down? Okay. All right, we got it. All right. So, for those in favor of the modifications to both Section 14 on flags and Section 34 on signs to include the bumper stickers excluded, all those in favor say aye.
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 And on the phone, did you? Okay, perfect. So all we have. All are in favor. 6. The ayes have it. The motion has passed. Thank you. So we'll work with the Communications Committee to get the clarification and the language on this new design review guideline, specifically as it addresses flags, flagpoles, and the signage sections. They did include the actual the pineapple signage for the realty signs, but we'll also work with them to get pictures of the flags, those modified of the flags that are approved. Yeah. Correct. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Can you tell me how this is going to be enforced? Anybody? How we expect it to be enforced, I guess?
Well, the design review person would be a violation and be a $100 a day fine for somebody putting something else up.
This will help with the compliance manager with the enforcement, because now we've given some teeth and we've provided clarification as to what is acceptable. Once we get the information on the website, get it out in an email blast, and get the design review guidelines amended based on the vote. But the enforcement, the compliance officer then, when there's violations.
So it's not going to be a friendly reminder the first time and then...
Oh, no, we'll take those steps as we do with everything.
Consistent with other things.
All right.
With the process. Once we get
What
that
if the flag got
program
fringe on it?
back on track.
It should be pretty simple because there's only the armed forces flags are on specific days. So there's only
American and first responder and POW.
There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Something else could be out.
I'm thinking more of political signs.
Oh, right.
Right.
But that's what we want to try to not have.
Yeah.
So, all right. So next on the agenda is solicitation for additional agenda items.
I have one.
Does anyone move to add to the agenda?
I have
Yes, Bill Tubb.
You want to know what it is?
Yes.
It has to do with the Covenants Committee and the membership of that.
Okay, yes.
Molly Knott sent an email to Jerry Evans on May the 15th. Says, as I watched the BOD meeting live last night, I recognize the fact that the Covenants Committee is in need of more full-time volunteers. That position requires a board knowledge of the Sandoval governing documents, which I have. If a resident is allowed to serve on 2 committees this year, I would like to apply to be on the Covenants Committee in addition to my position on the ARC. Kindly let me know if this is possible once you receive this email. She never received a response. I would like to either vote to put her on that committee or direct the general manager to address that situation with her. Because I believe there's one, maybe 2 members on that committee now.
Yeah, I don't have that information in front of me.
I don't either.
Who's the liaison to covenants? Do you know what the membership level is? I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I just don't have that information in front of me.
I was thinking there was 5 or 6 on it, but nobody's indicated they were going to have a meeting or anything yet. So
There was last year, but I'm not sure there is this year.
You don't have that readily available.
I think only like 2 people applied to be reappointed.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I definitely don't have that information in front of me.
Well, then I'd like to just, rather than us do anything off the hip tonight, I would like to direct the general manager to look into that, and if there are indeed vacancies on that position, consider putting her forward to be on that committee.
Okay.
Or somebody else if there's...
What was the name of the person?
Molly Knott.
Yeah.
All right, I'm fine with that. Are you okay with that?
Uh-huh.
All right. Anybody else? Anything else to add to the agenda? All right. So do we have a motion to adjourn to the open forum?
that's a move.
All right. Al and Bill, second. All right, we are adjourned. We'll move to the open forum, and I'll ask Eric now, are there any resident comments for the open forum?
We do have 2. I think Debbie has them. 3? Okay.
We do, Board. We have 3, 2 of them regarding the same matter. The first one coming from Ruth Chigger, Ashbury, on Ashbury Circle. Is there anything being done about erecting a sign on Pine Island Road entrance? Do we have sufficient land along access road to place it there? We were told at a neighborhood liaison meeting many months ago that Taylor Morrison has offered us a sign from that welcome center.
I understand that, in response to Ruthie's question, we do not own the land immediately towards Pine Island Boulevard, Pine Island, is it road? Pine Island Road. The Sandoval property starts at the Carolina apartment turnoff. Specifically, there's a water drain at the end of the median where there's a turn-in for the Carolina apartments. So the landscaping committee has an unfunded budget request to put some trees not only on that approach to the gates, also in phase 3 along the parkway, and to replace a tree at the corner of Vareo. But currently that landscaping is an unfunded budget request that we're aware of. Right, Bill? Secondly, the landscaping committee did check into an illuminated Sandoval sign that would be placed as you're entering from Pine Island, going towards the gates to enter into our community. To the left are 3 pygmy pines, and there was a plan to put an illuminated sign there. The cost would be around $12,000. Again, it's an unfunded request at this time. So there is no plan to put anything at the Pine Island and the street coming into our gate area. As far as the Taylor Morrison sign, I spoke with Scott DeFilippis this morning. He says that it can't be moved, that it's concrete and it's cemented in, and it's not something that they're looking to move. But I would welcome anyone's, if you have additional information at this time.
I've spoken with Ron. spoken with Ron, and with his permission, we'll make the following comment, is that, the access to the Pine Island entrance is now a major entrance into our community, and it has not been brought up to the same standard of either one of the other two entries. And the proposal that the Landscape Committee and Allison had come up with is that there were some palm trees that were available to do that, and the irrigation along the side, and then that sign, and then that would bring that up to the same standard. But it is an unfunded request. Now, since we've had some issues with this year that have possibly saved us some money, do we have it in the budget to do it? And if we did, it's something that I would say that we should at least consider, not saying that we need to do it, but is it possible?
Okay.
Thanks, Don.
Yeah, okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Don, but I believe the city restricted us from putting any signage north of our gates. Is that any signage or any gatehouse? Nothing.
That's
correct?
correct. That was in the ordinance when we
When we
received
bought
the
the
property. So the sign that has been proposed would be at the gate, which is prior to the new extension, and it would be appropriate.
Inside the gate or outside?
It'd be on the outside of the gate, but right by the gate.
Yeah.
So that annexed property is a few feet further out from that.
It'd be south of the Coralina fence. They have a chain link fence there.
Right. That chain link fence is the original property line. And then on the north of that, it was the annex that the ordinance gave us.
Okay.
It'll be on the left side coming in. When you come in,
Yes.
it's on the left.
Yeah.
I have a picture of it.
Knowing what we're dealing with insurance, I wouldn't want to take on any unfunded extra projects this year, but we could certainly add it to the budget that we'll start working on shortly to begin in January. So
And prioritize it.
I think that's something for the board to discuss, if that's something the board would like to add to the 2021 budget.
Where do we stand at this last financials? We're 6 months in, so we're halfway there. How are our line items?
Payroll was a little over, but that was an extra payroll this last month. We're fairly close, actually. We're like a $6,000 year-to-date loss overage for the budget for 6 months. So we're definitely can get within striking distance of breaking even. The contingency that we put in for $24,000, I think we spent half of that, which is right in line with 6 months. But we know we're going to have some more insurance bills before the year's over, so I expect us to.
Has the insurance committee met to try to resolve some of their insurance issues? Has that gone forward at all?
We're waiting for, and I guess Eric probably won't be here long enough to deal with it, but once Casey gets here, we need to get with 5 County and get the new loss runs that will reflect the settlement of that lawsuit that we had, which will look better. And then at that point, we can go out to try to get some better bids. But right now, the loss runs are the same that they were when we went out, and so I wouldn't anticipate any changes today until we get those new loss runs. The Risk Management Committee has not formally met yet, but we need to meet soon and start talking about walking the walkways, looking for things that could be potential claims, and having the management fix those before they become
I certainly think it's important that on a bi-monthly basis that you get a report of issues that need to be corrected, and have a task force out to let you know that stuff.
Okay, thank you. And there was a second issue regarding the open forum that Debbie Hartman's going to read for us.
Yes, we received
Thank you.
2 emails, both regarding the pool. We had 2 emails come in regarding pool hours. The first one being from Sharon restore the pool hours to the regular times to be discussed. It would be nice to have the pool open until 8 p.m. during the week as well. So at this time, the current pool is operating under COVID-19 restrictions, including social distancing, disinfecting requirements, and limited hours. The current pool hours are Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Friday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. At this time, these hours will remain in place until further restrictions are lifted. The main purpose is to ensure everyone's safety and to make sure we have time to clean and disinfect. So we appreciate your cooperation, and we look forward to working through some more hours once we get a little bit better shape here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in the past, the pool was open until 8, but there wasn't staffing.
Correct.
Whereas in COVID restrictions, you have to have staffing and there has to be cleaning. So I think that's the distinction that, all the residents need to understand why the hours are restricted.
Right, the resource implications, exactly. And this is something that we opened the pool the Friday before Memorial Day. We opened it a week before Cape Coral Yacht Club and Sunsplash. We followed their lead with the capacity at 50%, the limited hours, the limited capacity. And again, we have an obligation to do the disinfecting and sanitization of the chairs and the bars and whatnot. So due to the resource implications under COVID, we're going to stick with Monday through Thursday, 8 to 6, and the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 to 8. So thank you. All right, so I think that concludes the agenda, right? You have anything else? We have it all. Thank you all very much. Everyone have a pleasant good evening. Thank you.